I'm very much delighted to welcome Mr. Kalidas Muralidharan sir, who is a managing director and co-founder of InteQuant Advisor. His firm is a very they're having the expertise in the field of fundraising and providing solutions for corporates. And he is also an alumnus of RKMVC. He belongs to 1996 batch, and I'm very delighted to welcome him. Vanakkam sir.
Vanakkam. Thank you very much for having me today, Professor Sitaraman. It's my pleasure and absolute privilege to be with you today.
So, to start with, kindly share about your early stages of life, especially about your schooling and about your family, and in what way that helps you to build your aspirations.
Absolutely. So, my formative years were very simple but deeply influential. I studied in one of the best schools in the country, DAV Gopalpuram,
Okay.
where I was taught the value of discipline. I was taught the value of being curious, and most important, the value of being consistent over brilliant. I was not the most outstanding student, but I learned that if I turn up every single day, put in the hard yards, over a period of time, it makes all the difference.
Sir, and what about your family and how it makes impact in creating aspiration and to support you in pursuing your aspiration?
Absolutely, I think family played the most important role in shaping me. My father was actually a English literature proponent. He had learned the works of Shakespeare's Hamlet to Charles Dickens to George Orwell, you name it, he was right there. And he wanted to pursue his higher studies, but unfortunately, his family situation at that point in time didn't permit him. So, a lot of what he wanted to achieve, he sort of said, "Look, I couldn't achieve a few things, but that's something I want you to achieve instead of me." So he created a sense of ambition in me at a very early age, and that really helped as I sort of grew up. And as far as my mother is concerned, I think she's the most hardworking woman I've seen. Even today, she's almost 80. I think she goes out of the way to help everyone. So we were brought up in a classic middle class Mylapore family, deeply rooted in humility and hard work.
Amazing, sir. Now, how you joined RKMVC in 1996? What was your priority at that time? What was the reason for joining our institution?
Yeah, so I think there were only two or three good colleges at that point in time. And I think we had Vivekananda College, Loyola, and DG Vaishnav. And Vivekananda was always right up there in terms of the quality of faculty, education, and so on. And most important for me, going to Vivekananda is a natural progression from DAV, right? Where the culture is of discipline, is of all round development. So that's the reason why I sort of decided to move to Vivekananda College.
I found that you studied your high studies in IIM Bangalore. Now, when did that aspiration take root, and what was the challenges that you faced to reach that dream?
Yeah, so that aspiration started as early as fifth standard. You won't
Oh,
believe it.
oh,
Yeah. So my dad, when I was in fifth, told me that look, India is changing. It's the commerce graduates who are going to sort of dominate the professional landscape. So at a very early stage, he told me you have to do commerce and do an MBA at IIM Bangalore. So in fifth standard, he set that vision for me.
oh, amazing.
So I was very lucky that way. And I think the challenges are plenty. So when I was doing my BCom final year, that's when you prepare for your CAT exams. Um, my entire peer group was either pursuing CA or CS or ICAA. I was possibly the only guy who wasn't doing anything apart from preparing for CAT. Effectively, I had no plan B,
Okay.
which is not the most sensible thing to do. But having said that, not having a plan B meant I was very focused on achieving what I wanted to. So I think no, the entire noise which was around me, I had to shut it out. I think that was a single biggest challenge, the pressure from the peer group of pursuing something else. So effectively, I had a single-minded focus and devotion on cracking the CAT exam.
Amazing.
So that was one. And second, of course, at that point in time when I was studying, there were only four IIMs, right? There were barely 600 seats. And you had nearly 75, 80,000 students competing for those seats. So I think the entire pressure of going through the entire process was a big challenge. But thankfully, I had my roots in Vivekananda College and before the DAV, where you had possibly the best students in the city sort of competing with you. So that really sort of created a good foundation for me to get through CAT.
I was about to ask a question, but you answered already. So I'm moving on to next.
Sure.
Can you share about your first corporate work experience after completing your master's in IIM?
Right.
Share what you did and how you entered into corporate.
Yes, so from campus, I joined ICICI Limited. It was a financial institution. I felt like a fish out of water.
Okay.
Looking back, I would have fired my younger self, right? Very immature, green horn, very idealistic, thinking I can change the world. But it took me 6 9 months to really get adjusted to corporate life. That transition was a bit painful, but I think it's like putting a baby in bathwater. You either swim or you sink. Thankfully, I learned to swim. It was a phenomenal experience. I think ICICI is one of the foremost institutions in the country. Learned a lot out there. The kind of exposure you get is incredible. I was literally talking to CEOs, CFOs, CIOs at a very early stage in my career. And ICICI was a very, at that point in time, very entrepreneurial bank. You were given a lot of freedom to do things on your own. And that sort of helped me really um, shape my outlook and also understand how to manage and develop relationships at a very early stage in my career.
Okay.
And most important, I think ICICI was a very competitive bank. The sense of competitiveness and ambition is something really built when I was with ICICI.
Amazing. Can you share any experience or moment that you can cherish till now that you got at the early stages of your career? It may be even a funny incident. Can you share any such moment that you still remember and cherish?
Well, quite a few, but I think one which straight comes to my mind. Um, there was this presentation that we had to do to the National Dairy Development Board, NDDB, as it was called, and they are the largest milk producers in the country. And ICICI was supposed to give a presentation to the entire senior management, the entire board, and I was chosen by the ED at ICICI Bank at that time, Mr. Nachiket Moore, to join him for the presentation, and we worked through a couple of long days, including weekends, to put the entire presentation together. At the end of it, the client was so happy, and one of them actually they reached out to me much later and gave me an offer to join as well, which I didn't take.
Oh,
But that was at the early stage to get that opportunity to
yes.
present to a board of a large organization was something I always cherished.
After reaching this place, now what takes you to decide to start your own venture, that is business? Because it's a very big leap. Uh, as you already reached a great position and you got you're more experienced now. Now, what motivates you and instigates you to start your own business?
Yeah, for me, I was working in Bombay for a long time. I was at ICICI, then HSBC for a while. The biggest, I mean, I wanted to come back to Chennai, to be very simple.
Okay.
Home is where the heart is. I said I had worked for more than 11, 12 years outside of Chennai. I was in Bombay, Bangalore. I worked in London for a year. But somewhere the instincts were calling me back home. And I decided that it was time to come back. And for me, the considerations were very simple. I wanted to do something which was an extension of what I was doing already. I didn't want to reinvent and start from scratch. But having spent a large part of my career as a banker, I realized that if I was to be in banking, Mumbai is the place to be. That's the financial capital of the world. That is where you get exposure. That is where you get the best transactions, best deals in the country. But if I were to come out of Mumbai, I decided let me start on my own, and that is where I partnered with a very close friend of mine. He was with me at DAV school,
Oh,
Sandeep, and
okay.
he was working with Ernst and Young,
Oh,
and we were sort of talking with each other for more than a couple of years in terms of starting something of our own. And fundraising was a natural option for us. I was in a great organization, HSBC, on the debt capital market side, raising capital, raising funding for corporates. Sandeep was in Ernst& and Young on the equity raise side. So we thought, why not build an investment bank, helping companies raise both equity and help them leverage by raising debt and without the bureaucracies of MNCs. So that is how we started InteQuant. And there's an interesting story behind the name InteQuant,
Yes.
right? InteQuant is a wordplay of integrity and quant.
Okay.
So we wanted our name to reflect our core value systems of integrity. This is very important because fundraising has its own challenges in a lot of ways. And we are very clear from day one, we are here for the long term, not short term. So integrity was a non-negotiable tenet for us. And even today, be it with communication with all our clients, with all investors, all lenders, we are very clear in terms of the transparency and governance. So that is something which is we were very clear on from day one.
After started your venture, because InteQuant is into fundraising solution, and what are the other services that your company is doing? Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So we are focused on broadly, I would say, three services.
Okay.
One is equity raise, which includes venture capital, private equity.
Okay.
So we do Series A and upwards.
Okay.
Usually 50 crores and upwards is where our focus is. So we have done transactions as small as 50 crores to as high as 500 crores. So that's the range we operate in. We help in mergers and acquisition. That's a big focus area for us. And we also do debt syndication. So these are the three verticals that we are involved in. Over last 14 years, we have done almost 2.5 to maybe closer to $3 billion of raise for our clients.
Okay.
Across the country.
Okay. That is really interesting to point. And also, I would like to ask one question from budding entrepreneurs' point of view. Uh, what the investors will be looking on the company uh, in order to attract their investments? What all the factors that you look into a company to invest? The reason why I'm
Sure.
asking this question, this may motivate students, budding entrepreneurs to build their empire on their own. So that's the reason I'm asking this question.
No, absolutely. I think this is the best time in India to actually start on their own, right? The entrepreneurial ecosystem has sort of really mushroomed phenomenally over last decade or so. There's so many investors. There are about 1,800 investors investing into the country today, right? It's a very large number. Um if I were to break down what investors look for, right? What do investors pay value for? It's very simple. They pay value for growth
Okay.
and ROE,
Okay.
right? Effectively, they look at high growth companies which can generate enough earnings.
Okay.
As simple as that. Now, that's a 10,000 feet sort of macro position. If I were to drill down further on a very granular level, what investors look for first and foremost is the founding team,
Okay.
right? I think that's the single most important criteria for any investor.
Okay.
Who are they backing, right? What is the skill sets they bring on the table? How ambitious the founders are, right? I think that's the number one tenet which they look for.
Okay.
Second, what is the market opportunity? What are you going after? What is the problem you're looking to solve? Right? Is your approach to market very different? What is the differentiation? Right? So, what is the effectively?
Okay.
What's the market? What is it growing like? Right? If you're starting, for example, yet another body shopping IT services company, you may not get funding. There are enough players doing that.
Correct.
Right? So, what is that unique problem that you're solving for? I think that's what investors are uh, looking at. And after all of this, what is your go-to-market strategy? So you have a team, you have a problem statement which you're solving for, right? What is your JTM?
Okay.
How are you solving for it?
Amazing.
And in all of this, one underlying non-negotiable tenet is technology.
Okay.
Right? Now, earlier tech used to be a big differentiator, right? Today in AI's world, right? Um, Having basic tech is a hygiene factor,
Okay.
right? Um, So I think that's very critical, how you leverage technology to solve the problem you're going after. That's also something founders should articulate very clearly to investors.
Okay. From your perspective, what is the reason? Because in our country, we have lakhs of MSMEs, but not all the companies have become unicorns or big companies. From your perspective, what is the reason? What may be the reason for the failure? Because because nowadays they have lot of support system, ecosystem.
Right.
Having given that, what was the reason? Maybe the reason for their failures.
I won't call them failures. I think a
Okay.
lot of them are really coming up extremely well. See, I think two, three things are very crucial. One is access to capital, be it equity, be it debt, right? Yes, the ecosystem has developed quite well over last decade or so, but even today, there is a lot of these MSMEs which are still struggling for capital. For example, if you go to a bank for a loan today, unless you have a collateral, you have a property, you cannot take a loan. Reality is that, right? And that is something we see a lot of our clients struggle day in, day out to get a simple bank loan to leverage on the capital. Even today, there are so many questions which are asked, and quite often, some of the MSMEs just don't get the loan. So, access to capital is the single biggest challenge today which the MSMEs face. And I think the second challenge are the MSMEs themselves, right? How ambitious they are,
Okay.
right? I mean, are they ambitious enough to build, let's say, for example, the next uh, Reliance, right? I think these are the two biggest challenges which I see. But I'm very positive on the segment. I'm sure over next 10 to 15 years, the MSMEs are really going to grow and will continue to foster our GDP growth.
What would you say is to a student who is having some idea or plan to start a business? What will be your first advice to him?
Please don't delay. It's the best time to start up in India.
Okay.
I think the but be very clear what you're going after,
Okay.
right? Um, have a plan B, right? If this doesn't work, what is your fallback option?
But you said you are not having a plan B, and that is the main reason for your success as well in the beginning.
Yeah, you're true. It doesn't always work. I was foolish enough to do so, but I think once you start your career, see, let's be practical, right? You once you complete your student life, right? You need to start making a living, right? And either you succeed as an entrepreneur, but if you don't, what is plan B? Can you get back to work? See, what we read in the newspapers today, Professor, is that we read only the success stories. Out of 100 startups which start in India on any given day, 90 of them are fail. Only 10% succeed. A lot of them shut within the first 18, 24 months.
Yes.
Right? That's the reality. So there is a lot of pain behind. There is a lot of pain which don't get published in the newspapers. Right? So you always need to have a plan B. But
Okay.
in my mind, if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, please explore.
Okay.
Right? And also organizations today are very welcome, are very open to welcome entrepreneurs who possibly didn't succeed because they know they have an instinct of ambition, which everyone welcomes. So my advice is very simple. If you have an entrepreneurial mindset, explore right away, but have a plan B to go along with it.